The massive alien ship hung in Earth's orbit like a gleaming silver disk, its smooth surface reflecting sunlight across the planet below. Inside the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, Ambassador James Miller stood firm, his weathered face showing no sign of fear as he faced the towering alien representatives. The lead alien, standing nearly 8 feet tall with pale blue skin, looked down at Miller with what could only be described as contempt. "Your species survives on a Class 12 death world. By all statistical probability, you should be primitive savages," it stated through the translation device. Miller straightened his tie, a habit from 30 years of diplomatic service. "With all due respect, that's precisely why you should carefully consider your next actions. We've evolved on this death world, as you call it, and it has made us stronger than you realize." The alien delegation whispered among themselves, their translator devices creating a strange echo in the chamber. Their bodies, adapted to low-gravity environments and peaceful worlds, seemed almost fragile compared to the sturdy human diplomats. "We have observed your civilization," another alien spoke, this one with green-tinted scales. "You still fight among yourselves. You pollute your planet. You barely reach your moon. The Galactic Council has decided Earth requires guidance and protection." Around the chamber, human leaders from various nations exchanged knowing looks. They had faced this kind of patronizing attitude before, just never from beings from another world. Miller tried one last time. "Please understand, we're not asking for your protection. We're warning you that forcing your will upon Earth will have severe consequences." The alien delegation's reaction surprised no one in the room. They laughed. The sound was like tinkling crystal, beautiful but somehow hollow. "Warning us." The lead alien's translator crackled with amusement. "Your species cannot even achieve stable faster-than-light travel. What possible threat could you pose to the Galactic Council?" In the back of the chamber, General Robert Hayes gripped his armrest tightly. He knew what the aliens didn't, that humanity had already reverse-engineered crashed alien tech from previous encounters. Earth wasn't as helpless as they appeared. "Then we have nothing more to discuss," Miller said quietly. "You've made your position clear." The alien delegation departed, their ship creating spectacular light shows as it vanished into hyperspace. As soon as they left, the Emergency Council burst into action. President Wilson stood at the podium. "They've made their choice. Activate Protocol Omega." Deep beneath the surface of every major continent, hidden facilities hummed to life. In secret bunkers, scientists and military personnel began preparing weapon systems that would have seemed impossible just decades ago. "They think we're primitive because we fight among ourselves," Hayes said to Miller as they left the chamber. "They don't understand that's exactly why we're dangerous. We've been preparing for war our entire existence." Miller nodded grimly. "They see our violent history as a sign of weakness. They don't realize it's made us masters of warfare." Across the globe, humanity began its preparations. Ships that had been hidden in underground bases were brought to the surface. Soldiers trained in zero-gravity combat readied their equipment. The aliens had dismissed Earth as just another primitive world needing guidance. They would soon learn why Earth was classified as a death world. Its inhabitants hadn't just survived the planet's harsh conditions. They had thrived, becoming stronger, more resilient, and more resourceful than any species that evolved on peaceful worlds could imagine. As the sun set over the UN building, Miller looked at the darkening sky. "We tried to warn them," he said to no one in particular. "What happens next is on them." In orbit, automated defense satellites tracked the alien ship's departure vector. Within hours, Earth would begin implementing its defense strategies. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species that needed protection. They were about to learn that humanity didn't need protection. The rest of the galaxy might need protection from them. Admiral Thomas Wright stood before the holographic display, showing Earth's outer defense grid. Red warning markers blinked across the screen, indicating the positions of alien ships gathering at the edge of the solar system. Their numbers had tripled in the past week. They're not even trying to hide their buildup anymore, he said to the assembled world leaders in the underground command center. The Council thinks we can't detect their ships. President Wilson leaned forward in her chair. How long until they make their move? Based on their pattern, less than 2 weeks. They're positioning warships disguised as merchant vessels. Classic encirclement strategy. If you're dealing with primitives. Wright's mouth curved into a slight smile. The Council's first act of aggression had been economic. They'd blocked Earth's access to interstellar trade routes and declared the solar system a protected zone. They expected Earth to beg for mercy. Instead, humanity had accelerated its war preparations. Deep beneath the Mariana Trench, automated factories worked at full capacity. The aliens thought Earth's oceans were just empty wastes. They didn't know that humanity had built its largest shipyards in the crushing depths, where no orbital scan could detect them. Show them the Mars footage, Wright ordered. The hologram shifted to show the red planet. Beneath its surface, vast chambers housed thousands of missiles and drum ships. The Council's scans couldn't penetrate the planet's iron core, which Earth used to mask its military buildup. Every mining operation they've detected is a weapons facility, Wright explained. While they've been smugly watching our surface activities, we've turned the entire solar system into a fortress. General Hayes entered the room, carrying fresh intelligence reports. The Council just issued their final warning. They're demanding we accept their protection within 48 hours, or they'll establish it by force. President Wilson stood up. Then it's time. Activate the United Earth Defense Force. Across the solar system, hidden bases sparked to life. On Europa, submarine carriers broke through the ice, their crews ready for deep space deployment. In the asteroid belt, seemingly dead rocks revealed themselves to be hollow housing squadrons of stealth fighters. What about Project Phoenix? Someone asked. Wright nodded to his aide, who brought up new schematics. Our reverse-engineered FTL drives are ready. The Council thinks we're centuries away from this technology. They don't know we've had it for years, just waiting for the right moment. In orbit around Venus, hidden by the planet's thick clouds, Earth's first carrier fleet waited. Their ships were smaller than the Council's massive vessels, but they were built by people who understood war, who had spent millennia perfecting the art of combat. The Council believes we're primitive because we still have armies, Hayes said. They don't understand that this makes us the most dangerous species they've ever encountered. Through quantum communication channels, Earth coordinated with its secret allies, other species who had suffered under Council rule. The Rigelians, the Centaurians, and others who had seen humanity's potential while the Council remained blind. We've detected their first wave moving into position, Wright announced. They're still broadcasting demands for our surrender. President Wilson looked at each person in the room. We gave them their chance to back down. We tried diplomacy. Remember that in the days to come. She pressed her palm against the command console, authorizing full military mobilization. The Council thinks they're dealing with savages who need to be controlled. Let's show them what the inhabitants of a death world can really do. Across Earth, citizens went about their daily lives, unaware of the massive military machine awakening around them. The Council would expect panic when they arrived. Instead, they would find a species that had spent its entire existence preparing for war. Send the response, Wilson ordered. A simple message was transmitted to the Council fleet. Your last warning was ignored. Now face the consequences. The aliens didn't know it yet, but they had just started a war they couldn't win. Humanity was done playing the role of primitive savages. The real demonstration of Earth's power was about to begin. Would you like me to continue with Part 3? The Council's peacekeeping fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 500 ships arranged in the traditional crescent pattern that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Their golden hulls gleamed in the sunlight as they approached Earth's orbit. Still no response from the primitives, the Council fleet commander reported. They must be frozen in fear. The massive view screen showed Earth rotating peacefully below. No defense fleet rose to meet them. No weapons platforms activated. It looked exactly as their scouts had reported. A primitive world, helpless before superior technology. Then everything went wrong. The first sign was when their scanning systems failed, not with alerts or warnings, but with a quiet death that spread from ship to ship. In the command center of the flagship, aliens stared at blank screens in confusion. Impossible, the technology officer whispered. Their electromagnetic technology is centuries behind ours. Deep in the asteroid belt, Admiral Wright watched the Council fleet's confusion with grim satisfaction. Commence Operation Blindside. The first wave of human attacks came from below. Submarines, converted for space warfare, rose from Earth's oceans like avenging spirits. Their hulls, designed to withstand crushing ocean pressures, shrugged off the Council's hasty defensive fire. How are they penetrating our shields? The Council commander's translator couldn't hide his panic. Their weapons are projectile-based. But that was humanity's secret. While the Council had pursued energy weapons, Earth had perfected the art of kinetic warfare. Tungsten rods, accelerated to near-light speed, tore through the most advanced alien shields like paper. Second wave, engage. Wright ordered. The Council fleet's formation broke as fighters emerged from hidden bases on Mars. Small, agile craft piloted by humans who had trained in Deathworld gravity, moving with impossible speed and precision. They're inside our minimum firing range. Alien crews reported in panic. Their beautiful, massive ships had never been designed for close combat. They had never needed to be. The Council commander watched in horror as his ships died, not in the elegant way of energy weapons, but in brutal explosions and hull breaches. This wasn't the civilized warfare the Council practiced. This was extinction-level combat. Third wave, you have permission to engage. Wright's voice was calm as he gave the order that would change galactic history. From behind Earth's moon, humanity's true fleet emerged. Not the elegant vessels of peaceful species, but warships built by creatures who had survived Earth's harshest environments. Ships with thick armor, redundant systems, and weapons designed by a species that had spent its entire history fighting. Now they see why we're called Deathworlders, Wright said, watching the Council fleet's formation collapse completely. The alien commander stared at the approaching human fleet with new understanding. These weren't the ships of primitives. These were the weapons of predators, built by beings who understood war at a genetic level. Full retreat, he ordered, but it was too late. Human ships, smaller but faster, had already surrounded them. The Council fleet found itself trapped between Earth's gravity well and a species that had mastered the art of combat in 3 dimensions. Offer them surrender terms, Wright commanded. Let's show them we can be civilized. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, 300 Council ships were destroyed or captured. The survivors fled in disarray, carrying with them the terrible knowledge that they had awakened something ancient and deadly. In the aftermath, Wright received reports from across the solar system. Human casualties were minimal. The Council's peacekeeping operation had been stopped cold by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Send word to our allies, Wright ordered. Tell them it's time for Phase 2. As debris from the Council fleet burned up in Earth's atmosphere, creating artificial shooting stars, humanity prepared for its next move. The Council had thought they were bringing civilization to savages. Instead, they had started a war with the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and humanity was just getting started. Commander Lisa Anderson stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Vengeance, watching the holographic display of Council space. Red dots marked their military installations, blue showed their civilian centers, and green highlighted the positions of Earth's new allies. They still don't understand what's happening, her tactical officer reported. The Council thinks this was a single victory by primitive warriors. They haven't realized we're launching a full-scale war. The first human attack fleet moved through space like a swarm of deadly insects. 50 ships, each smaller than the Council's massive cruisers, but built for one purpose: bringing war to an enemy that had never truly known it. "Begin Operation Thunderstrike," Anderson ordered. Earth's ships dropped out of hyperspace inside Council territory, appearing exactly where the aliens thought it was impossible to emerge. The Council had built their defenses assuming everyone followed the same rules of warfare they did. They never considered that humans would find ways to break those rules. The first target was a Council military base on a low-gravity world. Its defenders watched in horror as human troops, wearing powered armor designed for Earth's crushing gravity, moved with impossible speed and strength. "They're inside the perimeter," alien commanders reported. "How are they breaching our shields?" But that was another human secret. While the Council relied on energy shields, Earth had developed phase technology that let their soldiers simply step through such defenses. It was crude, dangerous, and exactly the kind of risk only Deathworlders would take. "Second wave, commence ground assault," Anderson commanded. Drop pods rained from the sky, each containing soldiers trained in Earth's most punishing environments. The Council's troops, used to fighting in formation with energy weapons, found themselves facing warriors who had mastered the art of close combat. "They're not following any known combat doctrine," a Council general reported before his command center went dark. "These humans, they fight like animals." Anderson smiled grimly at that report. The Council had spent millennia forgetting how to fight, believing technology would always protect them. They didn't understand that humans had kept those primitive skills, perfecting them alongside their advancing technology. "Launch the urban warfare units," she ordered. Earth's soldiers moved through alien cities like ghosts. Their armor, painted in adaptive camouflage, let them blend with any environment. They didn't try to hold territory or establish front lines. They struck targets and vanished, leaving chaos in their wake. "The Council is broadcasting surrender requests," her communications officer reported. "Ignore them," Anderson replied. "They're not ready to truly surrender. They still think they can negotiate their way out of this." In orbit, Earth ships engaged Council defenders with brutal efficiency. Human vessels didn't try to match the aliens' elegant energy weapon duels. They closed to point-blank range, used kinetic weapons, and fought with a savagery that shocked their opponents. "Fourth Fleet reports their sector is secured," her tactical officer announced. "The Council's forces are retreating on all fronts." Anderson studied the updated battle map. Humanity's attack had punched deep into Council space, far faster than anyone had expected. The aliens had never faced an enemy that combined advanced technology with primitive combat skills. "Send word to command," she ordered. "Tell them Phase 1 is complete. We're ready to begin the real war." Across Council space, alien civilians watched in terror as human ships appeared in their skies. They had been taught that their technology made them invincible. Now they faced warriors from a death world, beings who had evolved fighting everything their planet could throw at them. "The Council's leaders are demanding to know our terms," her communications officer reported. Anderson looked at the stars through her viewport. "Tell them what we told them before. Their last warning was ignored. Now they face the consequences." The first phase of humanity's counterattack was complete. The Council had learned they couldn't defend against humans in space or on the ground. But they hadn't seen anything yet. The real demonstration of Earth's military might was just beginning. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, chaos reigned. Representatives from 100 species argued as reports of human victories flooded their information networks. The marble-like walls, once a symbol of eternal order, now echoed with sounds of fear and discord. "They've taken 3 more systems," a delegate with crystalline features shouted. "Their ships appear from nowhere, strike without warning, and vanish before we can respond." The High Counselor, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental suit, tried to maintain order. "We must remain unified. These humans are just primitives with stolen technology." But even as he spoke, more screens lit up with battle reports. Earth's forces had adapted Council technology in ways its creators had never imagined. They used faster-than-light drives to make tactical jumps inside planetary atmospheres. They turned shield generators into weapons. The Rigelians have declared neutrality, and aid announced. They're refusing to fight against Earth. More announcements followed. Species after species, especially those from higher gravity worlds, began breaking away from the Council's authority. Some openly declared support for Earth, while others simply stepped aside. In a secure bunker on one of the Council's core worlds, General Hayes met with representatives from these breakaway species. "Your people understand what the Council doesn't," he explained. "Earth isn't fighting for conquest. We're fighting for freedom." The aliens, most from worlds the Council had protected, listened intently. They had seen their own histories in Earth's defiance. Many had been stripped of their military capabilities, forced to rely on Council protection. "The humans fight differently," a reptilian delegate observed. "You don't seek to occupy territory. You destroy military targets and leave civilian infrastructure intact." Hayes nodded. "We're not here to build an empire. We're here to break one." Across Council space, rebellions erupted. Species that had been subjugated for centuries saw their chance for freedom. They had watched humans defeat the supposedly invincible Council forces, and it gave them courage. In the Council's capital, the High Counselor received even worse news. Their own military was beginning to fracture. Young officers, impressed by human tactics, were questioning orders. Some had even defected, taking their ships and crews with them. "How do we stop them?" the Council's military commander demanded. "They don't fight according to any rational doctrine." But that was exactly why humans were winning. They didn't follow the Council's carefully organized rules of warfare. They struck from ambush, used unconventional tactics, and never fought the same way twice. 3 more worlds have requested Earth's protection, an aide reported. They say they prefer alliance with Deathworlders to Council control. The High Counselor watched his carefully ordered galaxy crumble. The Council had spent millennia creating a system of perfect control, where they decided which species could develop technology, which could build warships, which needed protection. Now a single species from a death world had shown everyone the true cost of that control. Humans hadn't just brought superior warfare, they had brought the idea of resistance. "The humans are broadcasting a message to all Council worlds," a communications officer announced. On screens across the galaxy, Admiral Wright's face appeared. "To all species under Council control, Earth stands ready to assist any world that wishes to reclaim its independence. We don't seek to rule you. We seek to free you." The Council chamber erupted again. More delegates announced their withdrawal. The mighty alliance that had ruled the galaxy was collapsing, torn apart not just by human weapons, but by the very idea that a species could defy them and win. "They've done the impossible," a junior counselor whispered. "They've made others stop fearing us." As the Council's authority crumbled, Earth's influence grew. Species that had been enemies for millennia united against their common oppressor. The humans had shown them something the Council never had: respect for their independence. The galaxy was changing, and the Council could only watch as their powers slipped away. The Deathworlders hadn't just brought war, they had brought revolution. The Council's last stronghold burned, not with elegant energy weapons, but with the raw fire and destruction that only humans knew how to unleash. Their final defensive fleet hung in orbit, watching as Earth's armada approached from all directions. "They've mobilized everything," the Council fleet commander reported, his translator struggling to convey his terror. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon they have. Total war." Earth had learned from its own bloody history. There would be no gradual escalation, no measured response. When humanity went to war, they committed completely. Admiral Wright coordinated the attack from the flagship, Humanity's Vengeance. The holographic display showed thousands of ships, Earth vessels, Allied forces, and former Council ships now fighting for freedom. "All battle groups, commence final assault," Wright ordered. "Show them why Earth is called a death world." The human fleet moved with terrible precision. Smaller ships darted between the Council's massive cruisers, striking from angles the aliens had never considered possible. Earth's warriors had learned to fight in 3 dimensions long before they reached space. They're using our own ships against us. The Council commander watched as captured vessels, now crewed by humans and their allies, tore into his fleet's formation. The aliens had never imagined their beautiful ships could be turned into such brutal weapons. On the surface of the Council throne world, human ground forces advanced through the streets. Their powered armor, designed for Earth's gravity, let them move faster and hit harder than any defender could match. These aren't soldiers. A Council general realized too late. They're predators. Humanity had brought everything they had learned from millennia of warfare. Urban combat teams moved through buildings like ghosts. Snipers, positioned with patience, learned from hunting Earth's deadliest prey, took out alien leaders with impossible shots. The Council's inner defense line is breaking. Wright's tactical officer reported. They've never seen warfare like this. The aliens had forgotten the art of war, relying on technology and rigid doctrine. Humans had kept those primitive skills, combining them with advanced technology to create something the galaxy had never seen. In orbit, Council ships died in new ways. Human vessels didn't try to match their elegant energy weapon duels. They closed to point-blank range and fought with controlled savagery, using tactics that horrified their civilized opponents. They're not even trying to take prisoners. The Council commander watched his fleet die. This isn't a battle, it's an extinction event. But that was another lesson from Earth's history. When fighting for survival, there could be no half measures. The Council had threatened humanity's freedom, and humans responded the only way they knew how, with absolute commitment to victory. Launch the final wave, Wright commanded. From hyperspace, Earth's reserve fleet appeared. Not the elegant vessels of a peaceful species, but warships built by creatures who had survived Earth's harshest environments. Ships with thick armor, redundant systems, and weapons designed by a species that had spent its entire history fighting. How many ships do they have? The Council commander's voice broke. Where did they hide all this? The answer was simple. Humanity had been preparing for this moment since they first detected alien life. While the Council watched Earth's surface, humans had built their true fleet in secret, waiting for the day they would need it. The Council's palace defenses are down, Wright's communications officer reported. Their leadership is requesting terms. Wright looked at the battle display, watching the last pockets of resistance fade. The Council had ruled the galaxy through fear and technology. They had never faced a species that understood true warfare. Tell them what we've been telling them since the beginning, Wright ordered. Their last warning was ignored. Now they face the consequences. The Council's mighty civilization, built over thousands of years, fell in less than a day of total war. They had dismissed humans as primitives from a death world, never understanding that this made them the deadliest species in the galaxy. As the Council's final fortress fell, the galaxy learned a harsh lesson. Never threaten a species that evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They might just show you what real war looks like. The signing ceremony took place on Earth, a symbolic choice that made many alien species uncomfortable. The Council's surviving leaders, stripped of their environmental suits and ceremonial robes, signed the surrender documents with trembling hands. President Wilson stood at the podium, addressing representatives from 1,000 worlds. Today marks not just the end of a war, but the beginning of a new era. Earth doesn't seek to replace the Council. We seek to build something better. In orbit, ships from dozens of species filled the sky. Not in battle formation, but in celebration. Many were former Council vessels, now crewed by races who had reclaimed their independence. The humans taught us more than warfare, a Rigelian ambassador observed. They taught us that strength doesn't come from control, it comes from freedom. Earth's military leaders had transformed into teachers. Admiral Wright now spent his days showing other species how to defend themselves, not just with technology, but with the strategic thinking that had kept humanity alive on their death world. Your people preserved knowledge we foolishly abandoned, a former Council general admitted during a training session. We thought technology made us superior. You showed us the value of primitive wisdom. The new Galactic Federation took shape differently than the Council. Each species governed itself, maintained its own military, and made its own choices. Earth provided guidance but never control. Commander Anderson, now leading the Federation's Defense Academy, trained officers from across the galaxy. The Council's greatest mistake, she explained to her students, was thinking that peace means forgetting how to fight. True peace comes from being strong enough to defend it. Humanity's influence spread in unexpected ways. Species that had been enemies for millennia learned to cooperate, sharing the lessons learned from Earth. They studied not just human warfare, but human culture, art, and philosophy. They survived on a world that should have killed them. A young alien cadet observed during training. Instead of making them savage, it made them stronger, smarter, more adaptable. The Council's former capital became a museum, its marble halls now displaying the history of 1,000 worlds. The story of Earth's victory held a central place, not to celebrate war, but to remind everyone of its cost. We keep these memories, President Wilson explained to visiting diplomats, not to glorify conflict, but to ensure we never forget its lessons. The galaxy must never again allow any power to suppress others through fear. Earth scientists shared their innovations freely. The technology that had helped them win the war now served peaceful purposes. Ships designed for combat were rebuilt for exploration. Weapons factories transformed into manufacturing centers. The humans understand something we forgot, a former Council scientist noted. Progress doesn't come from perfection. It comes from overcoming challenges. The galaxy changed rapidly. Species that had been held back by Council restrictions now developed at their own pace. Some chose paths the Council would never have allowed, creating new technologies and cultures. In the Federation's Grand Hall, representatives from all worlds gathered regularly. They argued, debated, and sometimes shouted, but they remained free to choose their own paths. This is what the Council never understood, General Hayes told a group of alien diplomats. True civilization isn't about enforcing order. It's about managing chaos while preserving freedom. A decade after the war, Earth had become known not as conquerors, but as teachers. The species that had evolved on a death world now helped others become stronger, while ensuring no power could ever again threaten galactic freedom. We were wrong about humans, the former High Counselor admitted in his memoirs. We saw their harsh world as a mark of primitiveness. We should have seen it as proof of their greatness. As new species joined the Federation, they all learned Earth's most important lesson. Strength comes not from controlling others, but from learning to control oneself. The Deathworlders had brought war to the galaxy, but they had also brought something far more precious: true peace through strength. The galaxy would never be the same, and most agreed that was for the better.